On a rainy Tuesday morning, Maya and Daniel both get the same phone call. A lawyer tells them their aunt has passed away, and after the estate is settled, each of them will receive $1 million. Not a promise, not a lottery ticket, a real inheritance. For Maya, it feels like the finish line. She has $42,000 in student loans, a car payment, and about $8,000 in savings. She makes $78,000 a year, and has always felt like she was one emergency away from falling behind. For Daniel, it feels different. He also makes around $80,000 a year. He has a mortgage, 2 kids, and not much in savings. But when he hears $1 million, his first reaction is not, "I'm rich." It's, "How do I not mess this up?" 1 year later, Maya's life looks completely transformed. New house, new SUV, family vacations, a kitchen renovation. She looks rich. Daniel's life looks almost exactly the same. But 10 years later, one of them still has a life-changing fortune. The other is wondering where the money went. So if you inherited $1 million, would it actually make you rich? Here's the part nobody explains about sudden money. $1 million sounds like an identity, like once you have it, you become a millionaire forever. But an inheritance is not the same as wealth. It's a pile of money. And a pile of money can either become a machine that supports your life, or it can become a really expensive memory. The difference is not just discipline, it's structure. Because the moment the money arrives, it collides with taxes, debt, emotions, family expectations, lifestyle upgrades, housing decisions, and one very dangerous belief. I can afford it now. In the United States, federal estate tax only applies to very large estates. In 2026, the federal estate tax exemption is scheduled to be $15 million per person. So many people inheriting $1 million directly won't owe federal estate tax on the inheritance itself. But that does not mean the money is consequence-free. If you inherit an IRA, sell inherited investments, buy a bigger house, or generate new income from the money, taxes can show up quickly. And even if taxes are low, spending is not. That's where Maya and Daniel start making completely different decisions. Maya receives $1 million and decides to clean up her life. First, she pays off $42,000 in student loans and a $29,000 car loan. Honestly, that part feels great. No more monthly payments, no more interest. She then sets aside $50,000 in cash, because that sounds responsible. So far, she has spent $121,000. Then she buys a house. Before the inheritance, she was renting a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,100 a month. Now she buys a $760,000 home and puts down $300,000. With property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and a mortgage at around 6.5%, her monthly housing cost is roughly $4,500. That's more than double her old rent. She also replaces her old car with an $82,000 SUV, pays cash and tells herself, "At least I don't have a payment." Then come the smaller things that don't feel small until later. $38,000 for furniture, $26,000 for a dream vacation to Italy with her parents and siblings, $19,000 helping a cousin start a business, $14,000 for a wedding she always wanted to have, without worrying about money. Another $22,000 in gifts, upgrades, electronics, and things she stops tracking because, compared with $1 million, they feel tiny. By the end of the first year, Maya has spent or committed more than $620,000. But here's the quiet problem. She didn't just spend money, she raised the cost of being Maya. Her old life cost about $5,200 a month. Her new life costs closer to $9,000 a month. The property taxes are higher. The insurance is higher. The utilities are higher. The neighborhood restaurants are more expensive. And once everyone sees her as the one who inherited money, requests start arriving. Daniel does something much less exciting. He waits. For 6 months, almost nothing changes. He keeps the same car, same house, same job, same grocery store. He parks the inheritance in a high-yield savings account and treasury bills while the estate paperwork finishes and the emotions settle. Then he makes a list. He pays off $18,000 in credit card debt because the interest rate is 22%. He keeps his mortgage because it's fixed at 3.25%. He sets aside $75,000 as an emergency fund, which is about 1 year of core expenses for his family. He puts $50,000 into a life fund for repairs, vacations, and gifts, so generosity has a boundary. That leaves roughly $857,000. He doesn't try to become a genius investor. He puts most of it into a diversified portfolio of low-cost stock and bond index funds, spread over time, built around the simple idea that the money needs to last for decades, not months. If that portfolio earns an average of 6% a year after inflation, $857,000 could become about $1.53 million in 10 years, before any withdrawals. At 7%, It could become around $1.69 million, but the most important number is not the return, it's the withdrawal. Daniel decides that if he ever uses the portfolio for lifestyle spending, he'll try to keep it around 3% to 4% per year. On $857,000, that's roughly $25,000 to $34,000 a year. That's nice money, life-changing money, but it is not private jet money. It is not quit your job and buy a beach house money. It is not everyone in the family gets rescued forever money. And that's the first big shock. $1 million can make you wealthy. But if you treat it like infinite money, it can disappear surprisingly fast. After 2 years, Maya still looks ahead. Daniel still looks boring. Then the plot twist arrives. In year 3, Maya's company goes through layoffs. She keeps her job, but her bonus gets cut and inflation is still squeezing everything. Her property taxes rise, home insurance goes up, the SUV needs repairs, and the cousin's business she helped fund quietly fails. None of this is dramatic by itself, but together, it exposes the real risk of sudden wealth. Not one bad decision, but a new lifestyle that requires everything to keep going right. This pattern shows up in real life more often than people think. A famous study by economists at the University of Kentucky, the University of Pittsburgh, and Vanderbilt looked at Florida lottery winners and bankruptcy records. The researchers found that people who won between $50,000 and $150,000 were more likely to file for bankruptcy within 3 to 5 years than smaller winners. The windfall delayed financial trouble, but often didn't solve the underlying habits. Another widely cited statistic from the National Endowment for Financial Education has claimed that around 70% of people who receive sudden windfalls lose the money within a few years, though that exact number is debated. But the broader point is hard to ignore. Sudden money does not automatically create lasting wealth. Why? Because money magnifies the system it enters. If someone has no plan, the money funds chaos. If someone has strong boundaries, the money strengthens those boundaries. If someone feels guilt, the money becomes a tool for rescuing others. If someone feels deprived, the money becomes proof they finally deserve everything they postponed. Maya isn't reckless in the cartoon sense. She isn't buying yachts. She isn't gambling in Vegas. She's doing what many people might do, paying off debt, buying a home, helping family, taking a trip, upgrading things that used to feel out of reach, but the math doesn't care whether spending feels reasonable. By the end of year 3, Maya has about $250,000 left in investments and cash. That still sounds like a lot, but her annual spending has risen to about $108,000, while her after-tax income is closer to $63,000. The gap is around $45,000 a year. So now her inheritance is not growing, it's subsidizing. Daniel, meanwhile, faces a different temptation. His portfolio drops 18% during a bad market year. On paper, he loses more than $150,000. For a moment, he feels foolish. Maya has a house, memories, and a beautiful car. Daniel has a spreadsheet showing a giant red number. One of them reacts to fear. The other reacts to a plan. Daniel does something counterintuitive. He does not try to win it back. He doesn't move everything to cash. He doesn't chase hot stocks. He doesn't assume the market is rigged because one bad year happened. He reviews the purpose of the money. Some is for emergencies. Some is for his children's education. Some is for retirement. Some is for flexibility. None of those goals changed because the market had a rough year. So he rebalances. That means he sells a little of what held up better and buys a little of what fell, bringing the portfolio back to its target mix. It feels emotionally backwards. But that's the point. Good systems often protect you from your own instincts. This is where the payoff starts to appear. By year 5, markets have recovered. Daniel's portfolio, after the earlier drop, is back above $1 million. He has taken one family vacation using the Life Fund. He helped his parents with $12,000 in medical bills, but only after deciding with his spouse what they could afford. He increased retirement contributions at work. He did not quit his job, but he negotiated a 4-day schedule at slightly lower pay because the inheritance gave him leverage. That is a form of wealth people underestimate. Not just more stuff, more options. By year 10, Maya's situation is complicated. Her home has appreciated from $760,000 to about $910,000, assuming roughly 1.8% annual real growth plus local market strength. That sounds great. But she still has a large mortgage, and her housing costs have eaten much of her income. The SUV is worth maybe $28,000. Her investments are down to about $90,000 because they were repeatedly tapped to cover spending gaps, repairs, gifts, and taxes. Her net worth may still be higher than before the inheritance. Maybe $400,000 to $500,000 when home equity is included. That is not failure. But it is not what most people imagine when they hear inherited $1 million. The inheritance made her life more comfortable for a while. It erased stress for a season. It created real memories. But it did not make her financially independent, because most of the money was converted into lifestyle and a liquid home equity. Daniel's numbers look different. His original invested amount of about $857,000, after modest withdrawals and market cycles, has grown to around $1.4 million after 10 years, assuming roughly 6% annualized returns and occasional limited use. His emergency fund still exists. His retirement accounts are larger because he kept contributing. His house is not fancy, but it's manageable. His children may graduate with little or no student debt because part of the inheritance was intentionally assigned to education. And here's the wild part. Daniel never felt like a millionaire in daily life. He still compared prices, still drove a used car, still had work stress, still had to say no. But financially, he became much richer than Maya because he understood something most people only learn after the money is gone. Being rich is not measured by how much money passes through your hands. It's measured by how much control you keep. $1 million is a strange amount of money. It's enormous if you're using it to buy freedom slowly. It's smaller than it looks if you're using it to buy status quickly. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $1 million produces about $40,000 a year before taxes. That can be life-changing. It can cover housing in some places, replace part of a salary, fund caregiving, or let someone take a lower-stress job. But it may not be enough to stop working forever at age 35, especially with healthcare, children, inflation, and housing costs. So what would you do? Would you pay off every debt, even the low-interest ones? Would you buy the house you always wanted? Would you help family immediately? Would you tell people? Would you keep working? Would you invest all at once or slowly? Would you change your life in year 1 or wait until year 2? There's no single perfect answer. And this is not financial advice, but the deeper question is not, what would you buy with $1 million? The better question is, what kind of system would you build around it before your emotions start spending it? Because the inheritance itself is only the beginning. The real wealth comes from what happens next. Inheriting $1 million might make you wealthy on paper, but whether it actually makes you rich depends on the choices, boundaries, and systems you build around it. The money can disappear quickly, or it can become the foundation for lasting freedom. But the difference is rarely the amount itself. If you found this useful, subscribe to What If Finance, new video every week.